Hello everybody and welcome to the Rediscovering Germany webinar. I'm delighted that all of you could join us today. This is a traveling program that we usually do in person. We recently gave Rediscovering Germany workshops in Ann Arbor and in Miami, and it's something we've started to do online as well because it has proved quite popular live, and we also hope to do a regular online version of this so that we can introduce Vistas have. So thank you for joining us for this virtual presentation. I'm going to start with a brief webinar walkthrough, and then we're going to move on to sort of joint presentation between my colleague in New York, Peter Kerrigan, who is Deputy Director of the New York office and also Director of Marketing and Development, and then also Angela Schaefer, and she works with our for Cultural Vistas. They're a group that we work with very closely in a lot of different events, and she's also in the New York office of Cultural Vistas, and she will present their programs. And then we will follow that with a question and answer. So we hope that as the presentation is going, you'll shoot your questions to us so that we can have a moderated Q&A after the official presentation finishes. For those of you that have not participated in a webinar before, this is just a brief overview of how you can interact with us during this online session. The attendee list is hidden, so you won't be seeing that, but you should see something that looks like this control panel on the side of your screen. This grab tab allows you to maximize and minimize the size of the screen, so if it's taking up too much of your screen, just go ahead and click these arrows, and that will decrease the size of the control panel. The audio pane here shows how you're listening to the webinar today. If at any point you lose audio, you can just toggle between these two buttons, and that often resets how you're listening. The questions pane down here is how you can interact with us. We won't be taking live spoken questions, but we will take all of your questions that we have time for through this questions panel here. So at any time you can just type your question here into section E, click send, and that will go to me, and I will collect those for the Q&A at the end. Also feel free, if you have any technical issues or anything like that, feel free to just submit those via questions as well, and I will try to troubleshoot. This is our contact information. The slide will go up again later, so feel free to type this down now or write this down now or later. And we also will be submitting or distributing our presentation that we give today to all of you via email. So don't feel like you need to scribble and copy everything down. This will be sent out afterwards via email, and we also will have a recording of today's webinar on our website. Our tech guru in the New York office of DAD is recording this webinar, so you will be able to view that afterwards if you have any questions, or also share it with colleagues that were not able to take part today. And before I hand the mic over to the New York colleagues, I just wanted to start with a quick poll to sort of get a sense of what all of you are interested in and where you are coming from. So the first poll is who you are. So are you a fellowships advisor, study abroad advisor, career advisor, faculty administrator, or a student? We just sort of want to get a sense of who we're talking to here. So I'm just going to wait a second and hope that we can get everybody voting. 87% of you voted, getting close there. As those are coming in, it looks like 43% of you are study abroad advisors, 29% faculty or administrators, 21% fellowship advisor, and 21% students. So it's a good mix of folks there. And the second question that I'd love to ask all of you is what you're most interested in here. Are you most interested in studying in Germany, internships in Germany, research in Germany, work in Germany, or university or departmental exchanges with Germany? So if you can submit your vote there, that would be great. 47% of you have come in, 60%, 80%. Waiting for the last few people there. So it looks like we have a really diverse set of interests here. So we are covering something for everybody. 64% of you are interested in internships, so most of you for internships. 57% study in Germany, 43% research in Germany, 33% working in Germany, and then 27% university or departmental exchange. So we have a variety of people taking part today with a really variety of interests. So we hope to be able to address something for all of you today, and as well as answer all of your questions. So with that, I am going to unmute my colleagues in New York, Peter and Angela, and I am going to hand the presentation over to Peter.
Great.
Take it away, Peter.
Thank you. Okay, let me do this again. So, 1 second. All right, can you see that, Leslie?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, well, good afternoon and good morning, depending upon where you are. Thank you for joining us. Leslie's introduced us. I just wanted to thank all of you for your patience and support during our Sandy Crisis Week. If you had been in touch with us, you'd know that our email only came back up late last night. So we have 9 days without contact. If you did try to email us and haven't heard back, that's why. So please get through and send us an email again. So that having been said, let's get started. We really just want to provide you with a very brief overview of the many opportunities that Cultural Vistas and DAD have to offer for you and your students to go to Germany through direct programs themselves or, more importantly, through funding opportunities. So just a sense who we are, for those of you unfamiliar with the German Academic Exchange Service, we have 2 mandates here in the U.S. and Canada, one of which is to represent German higher education and research, and the other is to market all of our grants and scholarship opportunities. As you can see, we do fund a large number of people. If you include the Erasmus figures, which are not in this slide, we actually fund almost 100,000 people to go to and from Germany every year. Angela?
And I am Angie Schaefer. I'm the Director of Program Development with Cultural Vistas. If you haven't heard our name, you may have heard of us in our with our prior organizations. We're actually a merger of 2 organizations that have each worked in international exchange for about 40 years. We were CDS International, which stood for the Karl Duisburg Gesellschaft. We were founded with the mission to promote transatlantic work study programs, and we merged with AIPT, the Association for International Practical Training. So we send thousands of people abroad each year, and also receive many people to the States to work here and receive professional training. And we work at a variety of levels, high school, college, and postgraduate. Okay, so why is it important to study in Germany or intern or do a variety of other things? Germany is a very interesting place to go because we think that their approach to vocational training is a very interesting part of their educational system, and it's also very different than the way we do things here in the United States. It's an interesting, I think, experience to work alongside people who have gone through another form of education and have a different way of thinking and a different way of approaching vocational trainings. We have worked in Germany for many years, as has the DAD, and so we have a lot of contacts there, and our programs are very supportive, but we understand that people need different levels of support, and so our programs in Germany, they provide whatever really the participants need. If you need a more full-service program, and you're very interested in having language courses and things like that, Germany is a great place to go. Many of our programs there have a language learning component. Then other students or faculty members who are more ready to engage in a more immersive experience and really get that language training in that way, as well as practical knowledge of a particular field in Germany. It's a great place to go for that too. It's relatively English friendly, so people who are confident in their skills but still may need a little help here and there, Germany is a great place for that.
And also we would like to add is doing research in Germany, particularly in light of the survey that Leslie conducted, a number of you interested in research opportunities, and we will go into that later. There are some interesting facts on the slide in front of you as to why we think Germany makes sense for research. Aside from being cutting edge, the number of publications and articles that are produced, the number of books that are written and produced and published, and really most importantly, the generous allotment and allocation of funding that is available for research at all levels, undergraduate and through and including senior faculty and researchers.
So with that, we're going to go right into the programs that we offer. Our first slide is about the Cultural Vistas Fellowship. This is a really exciting new opportunity that the Cultural Vistas Board of Directors just approved. It's a funded opportunity for undergraduates to go to one of 3 places in the world and experience a long-term internship over the summer. The theme of the program this first year is going to be sustainability, but we have a very broad interpretation of what that means. And 4 of the participants in the fellowship program will be headed to Berlin to work within the field of sustainability in whatever their specific discipline is. So we have students who will hopefully be applying in terms of sustainable development, other students who may be interested in environmental studies, things like that. And really, it's an immersive experience. We are expecting students to have some level of German for semesters, but not be entirely fluent necessarily. And it is a funded experience, like I said, which is the biggest selling point. And so your airfare, your accommodations, some of your food, your pre-departure seminar and things like that are all covered. So that's something we're very excited about. Next up, we have the CBYX program. This is a program that we've administered for a long time, sponsored by the State Department as well as the Parliament in Germany. And the deadline for this year is December the 1st, so there's still time to apply or to get your students to apply for this program. It's open to all undergraduate students, but is particularly attractive to those pursuing more vocational training and STEM experiences. We also have the program has 3 components: internship, language course, and a study semester. It's a year program, and again, it's funded, a big selling point. The monthly stipend is meant to help cover food and things like that. So still time to get in your applications for that program if you're interested. We are also a sponsor of the MGRIP program. That stands for the Emigre Memorial German Internship Program. And it's a program with the German State Parliament. It's 1 to 3 months and can include some language training. The funding is 500 euros a month. It's a competitive program, 10 participants, and a high level of German is expected. But it's a wonderful experience, particularly for students interested in international relations, public administration, political science, law, economics, and public policy. The IASTE program, that stands for the International Association for the Exchange of Students with Technical Experience. And this is a very interesting reciprocal program for every American student who goes abroad to do an internship and research. A person from one of the IASTE participating countries is welcome to come to the States and participate in research and study here at a university. It's a paid internship, and it varies by company or by host institution. The language level required is none, but obviously some is preferred. So if you have some interest in doing research abroad, it's a wonderful way to get that started and maybe even progress towards what you might do in a doctorate or postgraduate program. The Independent Work Abroad program, this is for students who may have already had some prior experience either studying or interning or doing service learning in Germany or another country, but have a level of German speaking that they feel comfortable working within a work setting. And you have to be at least a sophomore, but you can be older than that as well. And it's basically Cultural Vistas is able to obtain your work visa. We do have scholarships available to help offset some of the costs of getting the visa, as well as your living expenses and things in Germany. And this is basically if as a student or as a faculty member, if you have some contacts in Germany and you'd like to set up a student with a practical learning experience there, this is a great program for that type of experience, a little bit more independent. And then in terms of our internship placements, the next slide we have is...
I'm having problems changing the slides, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see, I've had problems with my internet connection. Okay, go on, sorry.
No worries. The internship placement is a little bit more support services than the Independent Work Abroad program that we offer. The duration is really any amount of time that the student chooses that might work with his or her program of study, or that that your home institution maybe would require you to participate in order to possibly get credit. And students should work with faculty members and or study abroad advisors or career development offices in order to seek out credit for this kind of an experience. We are asking for about 2 years, so 4 semesters of college level German. Obviously, if the student placed higher into German in college, then that's not necessary. But the fee for the placement is $775, and that includes the placement in an internship in the student's field of interest, as well as some help finding housing, support in terms of logistical matters, pre-departure orientation, things like that. So kind of like a more quote-unquote frilly version of the Independent Work Abroad program. And finally, we have the WISP program. WISP stands for the Work Immersion Study Program. There's a December 1st deadline for that. So again, coming up, but it's not too late. And this is particularly for students in the in vocational fields. In the past, the program was open only to community college students, but now any enrolled student is eligible to apply as long as the student is between the ages of 18 and 27 and studying something that can be considered a vocational field. The components of the program are a language course to help prepare the students for the immersive internship, and then an internship after about the month-long language course. It's 3 months during the summertime, and that's so that it can fit within the off time for most students in higher ed institutions across the states. And there is generous funding. It includes your international flight and your accommodations, as well as a €300 per month stipend for food, cultural excursions, things like that. It's competitive. There are up to 10 students admitted, but it does not require as much German as many other internship programs, just 1 semester by the program commencement because it has that language course prior to the experience. So those are our opportunities for undergraduates.
Thank you. And so I'm just going to move along here with the DAD's undergraduate opportunities. Angela's already mentioned an MGIP program that they administer. We administer one as well, and that's our Bundestag, the parliamentary internship. And that's for those students who are sophomores or juniors or graduate students have a very strong command of the German language in the fields that are listed in front of you to do an internship, as the name states, in the German parliament. It also comes with very healthy funding. Also continuing on the internship vein here, because a number of you expressed an interest in internships. By far one of our most popular programs is our RISE program, Research Internships in Science and Engineering. And those are for students in biology, chemistry, physics, earth science, geology, and engineering, where they can spend a summer working paired with a German PhD candidate in his or her lab doing research on a particular subject. Students do not need to speak any German. The database for the RISE program with all the internship opportunities will go live at the end of the first week of December. As you can see, it comes with a healthy form of funding, €650 a month, plus health insurance, etc. An interesting component or program that combines both academics and academic and practical experience is a study and internship program, which is administered by our colleagues at a consortium of universities of applied science, the UAS7, and that's the Study and Internship Program, or SIP program as we'd like to call it, which covers a variety of sort of an interesting variety of fields where students spend a semester at one of the participating universities of applied science pursuing an academic direction, and then pursue an internship for the remaining 6 months of the year-long experience. And there's funding available, money for monthly costs as well as health insurance and travel subsidies. One of our biggest programs as far as funding is concerned is quite unique actually, is our undergraduate scholarship program, which is a scholarship grant. It's funding provided for students in their sophomore or junior years or second or third years of university who are interested in going to Germany either to do an internship to study or to pursue some sort of research for a thesis. The duration is up to 10 months and comes with about €650 of funding. It is quite a competitive program, but as I said, one of the few funding options available of its kind at the undergraduate level. And finally, we're going to actually go into greater detail tomorrow in a webinar about summer courses, but there is funding available for those of you who are interested or your students in going to Germany for summer. There's funding available for a variety of summer courses which are taught in German. It doesn't have to be German, but a variety of topics that are explored but taught in German. The one caveat is that anyone applying for this needs to have at least 2 years of college-level German to apply. So, now for graduate students.
Cultural Vistas sponsors a couple of different programs to Germany. We are funded by the Bosch Foundation and are the American sponsors of the Bosch Fellowship Program. This is open to people who have their graduate degree and are between the ages of 23 and 34, or perhaps have a bachelor's degree and have significant professional experience in the field that they're interested in studying in Germany. The program is open to students of and professionals within business, journalism, law, public policy, IR, or other kinds of economics, accounting related fields like that. The components of the program include language training if the participant needs some German language immersion before the program. Otherwise, the program is a little shorter for people who might already be fluent or close to fluency. It's a competitive program because it's so well funded, and it also interestingly includes sponsorship for people's dependents. So if a participant or an applicant rather has a spouse and or children, the program helps the fellow find schools and housing, everything that can accommodate them, bringing their dependents with them. The deadline has passed for this for the upcoming year. It was October 15th, but this is just something interesting to keep in mind for those of you who are undergraduates and may be interested in these fields in the future and may want to pursue something. This is kind of study abroad after undergraduate experience, which are unique to find. Or if you're a career development advisor or something like that and work with alum, this can be an interesting reference for them. The ISA program that I talked about is also open to postgraduate students. These can be significantly longer and actually can be very beneficial for postgraduate students who already have a research theme or writing or are in the process of doing research for their dissertation. It's a graduate student between the ages of 19 and 30. STEM fields, but kind of a loose interpretation of that as long as it's something that practical research can be applied to. It's a paid internship, and these are readily available in Germany. Many host institutions and companies sponsor ISA students, and many Germans participate in outbound ISA programming. And so the language level that's required, there's none, but obviously some is beneficial, particularly if the student is very interested in doing very in-depth lab work and things like that. It's good to have kind of the knowledge of German in those disciplines.
And then moving over to our side, so to speak, to the DAD and the offerings that we have as well at the graduate level. Again, our most competitive and probably most popular program is our study scholarship, which is funding for students who are in their pursuing graduate studies, who are interested in going to Germany either to study or actually pursue a degree. The funding is quite healthy. It's about 750 euros a month plus travel and health insurance. And the components or what people can pursue is either a study program, as I said, or actually a research project. And if the funding is up to 10 months. What's interesting about this is if you are interested in pursuing a master's degree in Germany, there are over 1,000 master's degrees, or degrees actually, overall being offered in Germany in the English language in a variety of disciplines, that if you are matriculated in a degree program that lasts 2 years, you can reapply for funding for the second year of your program. The companion program to the RISE program, which we mentioned before in the undergraduate section, is called RISE Professional, and that's similar in terms of the fields that are targeted. The couple of differences, first of which is for graduating seniors, master's and PhD students. And most importantly, the internship is not in a PhD lab. It is actually working with a company in Germany and can last for up to 6 months. And as you can see, the funding is a little higher than for the RISE undergraduate program. That database is going live at the end of the first week of December as well. For those of you or any of your students who are interested in funding for a specific research project, there is the research grant, which is available to PhD students, postdocs, graduate students pursuing a PhD in Germany as well. The funding for that is about €1,000 a month. We encourage you, because sometimes our deadlines vary, to check on our website. I would actually like to take this moment just to explain that for those of you who are advising students or are students yourselves who do not hold a U.S. or Canadian passport, it doesn't matter for most of our programs, as long as you're matriculated in a degree-seeking program, or if you're a professor and have been in a professor position or working as a professor at university for a certain number of years, you can actually apply for funding through our office here in New York. There is funding also available for those of you who are interested in studying or brushing up or strengthening your German language. Again, a couple of exceptions here for those of you or any students of yours who are actually studying German. You're unfortunately ineligible for this particular grant, and any applicant needs to have demonstrated at least 3 years of college German before applying. Also, as you can see, that the funding is quite good. It's for, the duration is 2 months, but it's for about 2,300 lump sum, 2,300 euros lump sum that's given to you at the beginning of the summer course. So, moving on down to, back to you, Angela.
So the customized study tours, these are opportunities through Cultural Vistas for faculty at institutions or for advisors and study abroad offices who are contacted by departments who want to set something up in Germany, and they don't really know necessarily how to get started or don't have the contacts or just would like some guidance in this way. We do offer customized study tours, and this is basically for full-time faculty members to work with us. We can provide itineraries, support on the ground, support prior to departure, resources for students and for faculty, basically helping the faculty member work out in whatever discipline they're interested in teaching in Germany for a faculty-led summer or winter or spring break short-term program, basically. Usually short-term, but I mean we can include 3-month summer opportunities as well. And the fees would vary by the study tour and the kinds of support services that we are providing to the faculty for their institution. But we basically are open as a resource for doing, I guess, a business, doing a program in Germany. And there's no deadline. Anyone who's interested or would like to contact our office on behalf of an academic department on campus, we are happy to be contacted at any time and can usually pull together some very good programming within just a few months of planning. So we're a resource available in that way. And then our university summer internship programs. Currently we have partnerships with a couple of schools, University of Michigan, Yale. We basically offer customized internship programs for these institutions that best suit their needs and their credit eligibility and requirements. We work with faculty. We also work with departments. We work with advisors to make sure that the program really fits what the school envisions for a thorough internship program in Germany. We can provide language courses for immersion beforehand. We can provide experiential learning outside of just a very traditional internship, site visits, meetings with professionals within the field, whatever field it might be. And we can do that all over Germany, so Berlin, Frankfurt, Heidelberg, all the places that we have lots of professional and corporate and NGO contacts.
Okay. Thank you, and I'm just going to take a moment to ask you again, on behalf of us and Leslie in particular who's moderating, if you have any questions, can you please type them in and send them through, because at the conclusion of this section of our program, we will be taking questions from you. So continuing with Angela's section here on opportunities for faculty. We have a number of opportunities for the faculty members out there and the administrators, in fact, and the first one of which is our Germany Today program, which is a fantastic opportunity for those of you who are interested in learning about German higher education in the European context. And what we do is we bring over a group of administrators, policymakers. We've had state senators, we've had provincial representatives, parliamentarians, experts in a variety of fields accompanying us to go to Germany to learn about a variety of topics around higher education. You're responsible for the airfare, but once you arrive in Germany and in Europe, I should say, because we've gone to other countries as well, we take it from there. It's a fantastic program, and we have seen a lot of sort of long-term benefits from the participants who have taken part in that program. In a similar vein, we have something called the group study visit, but that's actually for you to take a group of students to Germany, roughly for about 7 to 12 days, to explore a certain topic in Germany, usually in conjunction with a German university or University of Applied Science or some sort of institution in Germany, to get often a summer program off the ground. Often faculty have used this as a testing ground for other programs. It's really, it's quite competitive and it's been quite successful. At time of application, you need to demonstrate that you do have a well thought out program and that you do have the commitment of up between 10 and 15 students for the program. In addition, there are opportunities for you as faculty, a PhD equivalent, to learn German. Again, sort of keeping the theme with promoting the German language at all levels here. And again, unfortunately, those of you who are in German studies in language or translation are excluded from the funding here, but everyone else who's interested in learning, improving German would be eligible to apply for the 4-week language course and the 1,800 euros in funding. Again, for those of you at this level in your career, there is funding available for research for those of you who are on full-time faculty and have been on board in your teaching positions for at least 2 years. There's funding for you to go to Germany from 1 to 3 months, minimum of 2,000 euros of funding. And what's great about this, as you know, is your research can be flexible and dynamic. So are the terms of the funding, and you can use this grant to perform your research at a variety of institutions in Germany. It does not necessarily have to be at a university. A wonderful additional companion to our RISE programs, which I've talked about, is RISE Worldwide. And RISE Worldwide is where you, for those of you in the US and Canada, actually for anyone listening to us, regardless of where you are, if you're interested in hosting a German undergraduate student or researcher in the natural sciences or sciences and a related discipline, to come to your university or institution to perform 2 to 3 months of research in the late summer months. This would be a wonderful opportunity for you. The students come funded. The database for submitting proposals, hosting programs, is now open and live. It'll be open for another couple of weeks. And so we encourage you to have a look at that if that's what you're interested in. For those of you who are actually administrators and or faculty in a number of the science disciplines, we do have a program which is similar to Germany Today, which focuses on a particular discipline every December, and that will be decided in January. We've done different trips around engineering, around physics, et cetera, et cetera. That group comes together in December, travels to Germany, and learns about really very high-level research opportunities, collaboration opportunities, opportunities for your students and anyone you would advise. It's really a fantastic experience for those of you who are learning, want to learn about international research and cooperation in Germany. You would be responsible for your international travel, but once on the ground in Germany, we would take over the costs from there. And it usually lasts about a week. Another wonderful funding opportunity for those of you who are faculty or advising faculty members, there is funding for faculty exchanges going both ways. So we will fund faculty from Germany to come here to the US and Canada, and vice versa for professors from the US and Canada to go to Germany. There are different requirements for both, But if you are interested, by all means, please have a look on our website or contact us for information. Angela?
Thanks, Peter. So just to kind of summarize the presentation that we've gone through today, we went over obviously a lot of different kinds of funding that you can receive to go to Germany or that you can tell your students about or think about using for yourself. There's a difference, obviously, between fellowships, scholarships, and grants. It's important to read through the eligibility requirements of all of the different opportunities, obviously also paying very, very much attention to the deadlines for these kinds of opportunities. Some of them are very, very generous, but also have very early deadlines. So it's important to be thinking about that. And if you're a student, making sure that you are paying attention to that, or if you are an advisor or faculty member, making sure that you're making your students aware of that. And obviously, because some of them are very generous, there are different kinds of entry requirements and not what I would consider barriers, but just requirements that need to be attended to, and just making sure that you meet what the program is asking for. Placements are a little bit different. They are a service that's provided really to help students be placed or faculty and advisors be placed in these opportunities in Germany to take something away from the experience. Placements are often can be funded by other resources, and some of the internship placements through Cultural Vistas are paid, but some are not. So it's important to be keeping in mind other ways that you can raise funds for these opportunities in Germany. Common mistakes often include not paying attention to deadlines and then begging for something to be accepted well after the deadline. Also misguided statements of purpose and intention. We see some statements that talk about going abroad or doing something abroad, but don't specifically mention why Germany is a destination of interest. It's obviously very helpful since we like to think that we're being generous in some of these placement opportunities and funding opportunities, to explain why you would like to go to Germany. So why Germany really has an interest for you, how that can be related to your professional, educational, academic, experiential goals and objectives for your experience abroad. And this is obvious. This applies to not just students but faculty as well. These are things that can make your application a bit stronger and stand out a lot more.
And I'd like to add from our end for DAD, it's also very important that what you say you're going to do, you actually intend on doing. That really fits in what your long-term goals are. Particularly if you intend on conducting a research project, that there's a demonstrated relationship with whoever is going to host you, or with whatever institution you plan on applying to. You'll notice that some of the deadlines are out of sync, our deadlines versus the deadlines of the institutions you may be applying to. But as long as you demonstrate that something is in the works, we understand that these deadlines are different. But it's really, as I think Angela said, its statement of purpose is critical. And of course, the usual, the bevy of strong recommendations, etc. That's not atypical for either of the two organizations.
And I would say too, and this goes into the next slide, we have reaching out to the alumni networks or attending these kinds of things, webinars, informative workshops and sessions, keeping kind of an eye out, looking closely at the websites that Cultural Vistas, DAAD, other opportunities in Germany have. Attending those things and making those connections face-to-face and just kind of stopping by or making sure you talk to an alum of a program and saying, hi, I'm interested in this opportunity, can go a lot further than you may expect. So it's good to kind of start that networking aspect of professional development early, particularly if you're seeking a fellowship or funding to go to Germany. And so with that being said, we do have Cultural Vistas is open to coming to campuses. We often, I was actually just at a fair last week at University of Maryland and sat next to the DAAD Young Ambassador, and we chatted for a while. So sometimes you can find the two of us close together. But we do reach out and go to fairs. We sit on panels. We can come to information sessions at institutions. We can offer virtual kinds of services like this webinar to keep kind of everyone in the loop. We can do very targeted kinds of programming, talking just about one or two programs, or we could do very broad programming, talking about all the kinds of programs and opportunities that we offer.
And I think, thank you for pointing that out, we do have a very extensive network of young and research ambassadors. The young ambassadors are undergraduate students from the U.S. and Canada who have spent a time in Germany either interning or conducting research or studying. And the research ambassadors, as the name implies, have a certain amount of research experience in Germany. In this case, it's at least a year. And all of the ambassadors are either AB at their PhD level or through and including senior faculty. And a number of the Cultural Vista alumni are active in our network. So they're really a great resource, and they're all on our website. So here's our contact information. As you can see, both organizations are represented in a variety of social media outlets. You can find us everywhere. Pinterest is not on there, YouTube, we're all represented, Flickr, et cetera, but by all means, via Facebook and Twitter, probably the most active for us at least. And our websites are listed there, and I think, is that our last slide? There we are.
With that, we're going to move on to the Q&A. So huge thanks to you both, Peter and Angie, and you kept perfectly within the time. I think that's I mean, I've never seen such on time, according to plan. Very dramatic of both of you. So
I've never spoken so quickly, I don't think so.
It's a lot of information to cover. So let's go ahead and start with the questions. The first one is one that we get a lot, and this is for Peter. And that is, how can a study abroad advisor promote grants, for example, the undergraduate DAD scholarship with a deadline of January 31st, when that is due before their on-campus education is due before they even meet with the students. And this is something we run into a lot because, for example, our undergraduate grant can be used for an entire year or for the fall or for the spring. So regardless of when in that year the student is going, they have to apply for the same deadline. So students going in the spring are applying over a year ahead of time from when they're actually going. So Peter, do you have any tips for that?
Well, what we try to say is plant the seeds early. And when we do presentations, and I think this is true for cultural vistas as well, is that the timeline, and I think this is for most funding opportunities, when the students actually get to their senior year and they want to apply for a Fulbright or whatever, that they need to plan in advance. And in particular for the undergraduate scholarship, unfortunately our deadlines cannot be changed. And as I said before, we realize they're out of sync. So it is somehow trying to reach out to, in the case of the undergraduate population here, the freshman students and the sophomores right before our deadlines to say, if you want to apply, this has to be done beforehand. I don't know, Leslie, you do outreach as well. Do you have any other tips you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think you basically covered it. It's just a unfortunate evil that's part of the process. Yeah, it's just something that we have to deal with, and by getting students early, even before they're interested, is usually the best way. And it is especially cruel because a lot of times students that just go for one semester do go in the spring because that syncs up best with the German calendar. But it's just unfortunately one of those things. Angie, do you have any sort of tips on timing? Because I know a lot of the Cultural Vista deadlines are early as well.
Yes, and I actually can speak to that from an advisor's perspective as well. When I was an assistant director in a study abroad office, we actually made it we realized that students were missing the boats on some really amazing opportunities, and this was not just with these kinds of opportunities, but the NSEP Boren Scholarship has an interesting January 15th deadline for the next following year, which students just tended to miss the boat on a lot as well. So we actually made it kind of a summer project during the slow times to follow up with students who we had gauged interest in from a study abroad fair or something like that, maybe as freshmen or sophomores. And so we would blast them in the summertime with an email just kind of saying, here's some upcoming really interesting opportunities for you to either be funded, or program opportunities you may not have thought about that'll be very competitive if you wait to apply. And tried to kind of sell it to the students as them taking advantage of their off time so that they weren't trying to do midterms or exams, things like that, while they're also applying for the scholarship competitions. For example, many of ours are December 1st, which is really during, right after the Thanksgiving holiday, before finals at most schools. So it's not an ideal time for students to start thinking about adding yet another essay or getting recommendations to their plate. And it's not ideal for faculty either. They're very busy with finals and things like that. So I know that it's something that in my current role with Cultural Vistas, I'm planning on doing quite a bit of January and summer outreach with faculty and departments and study abroad offices, and then maybe if that carries on into those particular entities on campus reaching out to students, that could be a helpful way to kind of get them thinking about it early, while you can go write your essay while sitting at the pool during the summertime.
Great. Thanks so much, Angie. The next question is one we also get quite often, and this is about most common with the master's, the graduate studies scholarship, and that is when you apply you can choose up to 3 programs, but you always have a top choice. And if a student is granted the scholarship but does not get admitted to their top choice, can they use the grant to go to a different program?
What they need to do is they need to contact the program officer here, and if they didn't get into their top choice, generally speaking, no. But if it's one of the schools that they listed and that they had rationalized in their essay, then there might be a chance they could use it.
Yeah, I think that you're right, Peter, there with the as long as it's listed in their top 3, and there have been cases, I believe, I have one in my head from last year where the student didn't get into the top choices but found a very similar program at another university, and that ended up being okay. But if it does come down to that, as Peter said, just be in touch with the program officer and they'll work with you on that. We don't want to exclude students, so if there is some sort of circumstance that makes you not get into your first choices, just work with the program officer, and that will usually can be worked out. Are there any other questions from the audience? Feel free to submit them now. Otherwise, I think another question I have for Angie that comes that I've heard a lot being asked is German language skills. How much does it matter? Some of the programs say you don't need German, but it's required or it's suggested. Is there value for the student to hurry up and learn some German before they apply? How much does knowing German matter?
I think knowing German, some of them, while they say, no or very little German is required, most of those programs offer some sort of an immersion experience in German once the student arrives in country. But I think if a student is interested in going to Germany, it's beneficial for their own personal experience and their own kind of professional development, particularly if they're doing an internship, to learn some German before they go. Just to have a familiarity with the language. I personally, but also Cultural Vistas as an organization, we believe that knowing the language helps people know the culture. So we require language of some of our, as I said, more immersion opportunities that right off the bat you're placed somewhere and you're doing work or studying something. But the other programs that have some language, the reason for that is not just to make it a more difficult program, or it's more or less to get all of the participants on the same page so that they can all have a really good productive experience together when they see each other and meet up, but also for the personal benefit of the student. It will help a lot just to be able to read signs and things like that. So there are ways that we try to get everybody, I think, at a particular standard of German speaking in the programs that don't require it. And I think it is important. It's an important skill to be able to pick up.
And I think it's the same for our programs as well. I mean, we're very clear in terms of when the language is necessary. And particularly with some of the programs, when applying for the undergraduate scholarship or the graduate scholarship, or the study scholarship, if the program is in English, then obviously you don't need to have a demonstrated level of German. However, as Angie said, we do recommend that you learn the language and start to learn the language. With our RISE program, for example, there is funding available for students who do not have a command of the language, even if their internship is in English, to take an immersion course in German before their internship starts so that they can function at a higher level in society once they're there.
Great. Thanks, both of you, for that. I wanted to take a quick minute to briefly show our web page, the two probably most important web pages. The first one is our web page, and that's dad.org. You'll see this notice about our web servers, which did just come back up, but we're very slowly getting in all the past emails, so do resend anything to us that has come through. But this is a really important place to visit and find all the details about all of our scholarships. You can find them here in the drop-down menus, and a great place to go is also the program index, which is an outline of everything. So I would suggest spending some time on here, and then if you have any questions, feel free to email it to us specifically. Also, this study-in.de is a great resource. It's a starting point where you can search for degree programs. You can also watch videos on what it's like to live in Germany and get a lot of practical information about, I guess, on-the-ground life in Germany. Looks like another question.
Okay.
Sorry. Looks like another question came through.
Can I just 1 second? But the companion site for this one, Study in Germany, is Research in Germany, which is also fantastic.
Mm.
And that's more for the master's and PhD and postdoc level. It's slowly approaching my screen right here. Exactly. So this has everything that you need to know about conducting research in Germany. And I'll have this next question be asked, and then Angie, I can hand it over to you if you want to show your website briefly as well. And this question is about competitive nature of the grant. So they are very competitive, and we don't mention any minimum GPA qualifications. So is there any sort of average competitive GPA amongst applicants?
That's a tough one because it varies from discipline to discipline and from year to year. So some years in certain disciplines may be more competitive than years before. I would say on average, the student should probably have at least a 3.0, if not higher. The numbers vary. RISE, for example, last year we had, and that's not based on GPA, that's based, GPA is taken into consideration, but it's really on a good fit for the internship opportunity for which the applicant has applied. And we had almost 1,900 applications for 300 slots last summer. So that is very competitive. Leslie, the undergrad is what, 1 to 4 or 5?
About 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, depends on the year.
And the graduate is the similar.
And Cultural Vistas, the new fellowship program, we have a 3.0 minimum GPA to apply, but most of our placement programs don't have a GPA requirement, and if a student feels like their GPA is not a true representation of their performance in school, then it is okay for the student to write kind of a supplementary essay and explain, if there was a problem the freshman year, if they took a course or started out as a math major or something like that and realized it really wasn't for them. We would obviously take that into account when thinking about their program. And then for our faculty-led initiatives, if we're working with a faculty for a customized program or with a university for an internship program, that's up to the faculty or the university to set that minimum GPA.
And I think that's an interesting point in terms of what you reflect in your application, because our applications are all based on academic achievement and what you've achieved. They're not need-based, and so they're merit-based. And so the application process in itself, whether it be for our funding or actually for a degree program in Germany, is very, very different than the application processes here in the US and Canada. So to keep that in mind, what we like to tell students, whatever your experience is, whatever you think is important for your story, that should be reflected in your essay that you submit. Angela, I see we have your website up.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that. So this is the Cultural Vistas website, and similar to the DAAD website, we have a way for people to find programs. So you can click on this and let us know where you are, and then what your status is, if you're a student, if you're a professional. We don't have faculty on there yet, but we're going to add that very soon, we hope. And then it just kind of talking about what you're looking for. So let's say you are interested, you're a student and you're interested in an internship, which many of you were, according to our initial poll. This will help you pull up some program options and find something that hopefully works for you. So you can see that some of the schools that we work with, we actually have their specific programs listed here, but then there are other programs that are open to everybody. So let's say, for example, you'd like to go to Germany for the summer after this year. This is the website that gives you all of the information, and you can apply online to our programs, any of our programs. And if you have any questions or having technical difficulties, you can reach out to us, and we are always happy to help you find what you need or get you set up with paper applications, things like that.
Great. And I think with that, unless there's any final words from Angie or Peter, we will close the webinar. Any final words, Peter, Angie?
Just thank you, and we hope to see your applications and also from your students. If you have any questions, we have offices in New York, Leslie's in San Francisco, and we also have an office in Toronto. Please reach out to us.
And that's it for me. We are very excited to see your applications.
Great. Thanks so much, Angie and Peter,
you.
and thanks all of you for attending. I will be following up with an email so you can access the presentation we gave as well as the recording from today's webinar. So thanks to all of you for participating, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.